What's up, everybody? So in this video today, I'm going to share with you the specific tasks and actions you have to take as a manager in your coaching business, right? So as a sales manager within your coaching business, you have to hire people, onboard them, and then manage them throughout their performance, right? And this is an ongoing process, right? That you always have to keep going in order to make sure that you keep the quality of the people inside of your organization as high as possible, and also that you manage them properly so they keep performing and they keep being happy of staying within your company, obviously. So let's get straight into it. I created a whole doc of all the tasks that you have to do, how to do them, and what to do in certain situations when you encounter them. So let me share my screen here. And let's start with hiring. Okay, so the first thing is, if you don't have a team, you have to hire them, right? And so because of that, you want to hire only when there's a consistent ROI. Okay, this means that you're putting X amount into ads or efforts of content, and you're getting X amount, Y amount out. Okay, it's consistently the same process happening over and over. So you need to have stability in the business. Next is, you want the founder to be closing 20K plus, right? And the reason for this is because you want to maximize your efforts as a founder before you hire anybody else. Ideally, actually, you're at 30K per month in cash collected. You also want to be having at least 3 calls per day before you hire a setter or a closer. Ideally more, right? So that way you prove that you can actually book a certain amount. And you need to have hunger to grow the business and improve your service, right? If you don't have the hunger to lead an organization, grow the business as much as possible, and improve your service to make it better, you will be out competed by other companies that are willing to do that and then hire the best people because they are attracted to that vision, right? That hunger to improve. Um, Now, the next thing is, once you know that it's time to hire, right? You fulfill this criteria. You want to ask the questions in this doc here, right? In an interview to hire a closer or a setter. Okay, those questions are going to tell you, right? If the person, the answers to those questions are going to tell you if the person is a good fit or not for you, right? And these are the things you should be looking for, right? You want them to be to reply quickly to you. You want them to be sharp, both in DMs and on the phone. You want them to be and sound intelligent, right? That's important. They could be intelligent but be all over the place in their communication, so it needs to be both. They need to be able to listen and talk, and they're to be socially aware. They need to be able to take feedback well and improve quickly, right? They need to be hungry and wanting to do it, right? Actually wanting to pursue the goals that they have and actually have goals. They need to have some sales experience. That helps, but not always is necessary. That's why I put them last. And also industry experience, industry/niche experience. Okay, these are the things you want to be looking for. Now, once you hire the right person, you want to onboard them by getting them on your Slack, right? You want to set the expectations of KPIs, daily training, and tasks that they have to do. And with that, actually, you can tell if they're going to be a good fit or not. And you can even do the last round of filtering through by presenting this. Then you want to tell them to review and study the SOPs template, including all the links, and to watch the thank you page as well, and the last 9 reels of yours, right? So this is studying on the offer, and it's very important because they're going to be able to become aware of all these things, and yeah, just basically be prepared for the role as much as possible before you even start giving them calls or helping them jump into the inbox. Next thing is to create the booking links for them, right? Email and add them to the meeting invites, right? Meetings invites. And fifth is to role play until ready, right? Role play with them either through the DMs or on a call, right? To make sure they're ready, and then increase your volume gradually, right? Don't just give them like 50 calls per week. That can work, but sometimes you can just like give them like 20 or 15 calls, or give them like half the inbox or something like that, and you still set on the side. And then eventually give them full control once they start hitting close to KPIs, if not hitting and passing KPIs. And then step number 6 is have 3 1-on-ones per week until hitting KPIs, or for 2 weeks. Okay. So if they hit KPIs like in the first week, obviously you don't have to keep doing 3 1-on-ones. If they're taking a bit longer, do it for 2-3 weeks, and you should be able to hit the KPIs. Now, that's hiring. Okay. That's how you hire somebody successfully. Next is managing. Okay. The daily tasks you need to do as a manager are review the end of day reports from the day before and comment/coach on them, right? Reply inside of the thread and just give them ideas like, oh, this was really good, give them feedback. Oh, this we can improve, this call we should look at it, blah blah, things like that, to make them feel observed. And a good thing that you can do with this is like react with emojis to the end of the day, right? So it feels like they're actually important to you. Next is to review one call and or conversation per day from them. So you can quality control and make sure they're doing it properly. You will also want to check the tracking sheet that it's filled correctly, right? Make sure that all the previous things they should have done the day before are being done correctly. You want to check that the SOPs are being followed, right? The ones that you gave them. And then you have meetings with them, right? You have 130-minute one-on-one per week per rep. And then you have a daily 1 hour group call where you want to project your vision all throughout, right? You want to make them excited about where you're going next. So even if they're not making as much as possible, as much as they wanted right away, they see the vision of what's coming next. And because of that, they really want to be a part of it, right? And then this is the process that I would follow on the calls. This is actually should be ordered. What's starting with wins, right? Ideally, even actually client wins. That's the best one. When they basically bring to the call people that they've closed in the past that are getting amazing results in the back end, or people that they set in the past, obviously close or set. Then any announcements from the founder that could be useful, right? Things like changing the commission structure or blah 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 blah, things like that, right? It could be important. Projections, right? The numbers of like, and this is how you set projections as a setter, right? What you want to do is say how many calls as a setter, right? Let's start with the setter. How many calls am I predicting to book this week? And if I don't, I'll cut off my arm. Okay, so it's the bare minimum that they have to hit. The difference between projections and goals is that projections, it's that, right? It's the minimum viable that they have to hit no matter what. Whereas goals is like, oh, if everything goes great, we're going to hit those goals, right? I would recommend you to focus more on projections week to week. And then goals, you can set them even week to week, but it's more of a like founder type thing for yourself. And then finally, and also for closing as well, right? I predict that I'm going to close 3, 4 this week. And that's your projection, right? That's your arm cut off. And that's based on previous data, right? That you've experienced. Then fourth thing, which is what should take the most of the call, which is about 45 minutes. The rest of the call, right? Total, the call should be an hour total, is training, right? So it's like training on setting, answering questions, reviewing calls with them, and also doing role plays, right? All those three combined, and questions, reviewing calls, and doing mini role plays. That's the perfect. So actually, I'm going to write that here, which is Q&A, review, and role play. Okay, those are the three main things to do inside of training. Now, in terms of performance, the best way to avoid ruts is to prevent them. Okay, is to prevent them from happening in the first place, and we'll get to that in a second. Salespeople need to be motivated. Okay, they have to actually be motivated. They can't just be like do their job, right? They actually need to be motivated in order to work, to do their job, and they need to know how to do something, right? If you want them to do something, and also they need to know that they have to do it, right? If you tell them once, this it might not be enough, right? So you might have to tell them multiple times until they consistently do it. And also they need to know that it's a high priority list, right? If you give them so many different things they have to do, they will start to kind of choose themselves what is the priority because they can't get everything done. But if you tell them, hey, these 3 things are things that you have to do, and this is how you do them, right? And this is why you should be motivated to do them, because they have high impact in your performance, they will then do those things, okay? And obviously repetition. And then finally, salespeople miss projections if they lack accuracy, right? Sometimes people are super excited and they say, I'm going to book 100 calls this week, when they actually end up only booking 40. And consistently that happens. That means that they're not accurate with their projections. Again, it's not goals, it's projections. Sometimes it's volume, right? The projections are doable, but they're just not doing enough volume to hit them. And then thirdly is efficiency, right? Maybe the quality of the setting is not as good as it could be, right? Now, how to avoid ruts, right? This is important because sometimes people fall into ruts and you want to prevent it, right? So you want to catch sooner by measuring that in the one-on-ones, right? And the reports, basically making sure like you're gauging how they're feeling based on the end of the report. It will give you that information so that you can prevent things from happening and you can give them advice based on what you're seeing at the end of the report. So physical wise, you have exercise, right? Are they exercising? Are they eating correctly? Are they sleeping enough and always at the same times? Are they drinking enough water? What is their routine, right? This is the routine I recommend, which is to wake up 3 hours before calls, read, so good inputs, work out, listen to 1 to 2 wins, right? Do some breath work or meditation. This is not always needed, so you can just remove that, and get ready for sales meetings, of course, and then on calls, or work to get on calls, right? This is when you take meetings, basically. Like that's the only 2 things you should be doing. Take calls or do work to get on calls. That's the two things you should be doing throughout the whole day. Then you want to plan for the day to the next day, do your end of day, right? And then go to bed at a consistent time, right? Actually, you want to do follow-ups here as well. There we go. So that's it. That's for physical. Emotional, you want to ask them these two questions, right? How's your current emotional state at work and outside? And is there anything affecting your ability to stay present? These two are important because sometimes stuff happens in life, like people die or, just life happens, they get demotivated for some reason. So you want to make sure their emotions are in check and they're not letting that affect them. Mental is also important. This is somewhat tied to emotion, but sometimes not. So it's something like, do you have clear goals and why, right? Yeah, in reality, actually, we could just have this one question here instead of emotional. We can put it here and just remove the emotional because ultimately that's a mental aspect, right? Physical and then mental. How's your current emotional state at working outside? Do you have clear goals and why you're doing them, right? Are you progressing towards them or do you feel like you're doing so? Is your vision too big, right? You don't know how to get there, or too small, right? Smaller than the current situation, or just boring, right? You're just not excited to get there. Do you have standards for how do you do things, right? Are you holding yourself accountable to those, right? You said you're going to do things, but you're not doing them. And what are your inputs, right? Good, you have past wins, sales content, personal development, industry acumen, like industry knowledge, right? Industry content. And bad things would be like distractions, right? Or upset clients, right? Those are things you don't want to be focusing on. Then the next thing is maturity, right? If sometimes it might not be, and this is part of mental as well in reality. So I'll just put it here. But basically, it's part of the process of like getting of accumulating wisdom, right? Is that sometimes people who are young, right, they might think that they really want these things and they don't have patience, right? They don't have these traits of somebody who's successful because obviously they're younger, right? Or maybe they haven't learned and they're older. So things like zero patience, being happy, chasing, happy is the same thing, right? Uh like following these loops of like unhappy and chasing, happy and chasing, right? Like never getting satisfied. And the goal is to basically relax and go, like going to the season, right? That's really what you want to aim for. So this is how to avoid ruts, right? Now, let's say for some reason the person might be in a rut, or you yourself, right? This is how you identify it, right? In terms of quantitative, right? So numbers wise, you want to look at 10% below baseline over 30 to 50 calls, right? In either booked or taken, right? Um, just make sure that to check if it's a lead quality issue, right? By reviewing the calls, to make sure that's not the case. Okay. Now this is good, but the thing is sometimes you don't want to like take 50 calls, right? You don't want to let somebody take 30 to 50 calls just to make a decision. So you want what you want to look for instead is qualitative, right? Things that are come earlier, right? Which is like in your end of day reviews, report reviews, right? Like, is there anything that is a bit off about their energy, the energy in meetings? Are they chronically missing tasks? When you do call reviews, do you see like a lack of belief or conviction? Are they not making progress in the skill? Is there a lack of aggression? It's like, oh, I'll just book a follow-up, that's fine. Or is there a lack of discovery, right? They're assuming stuff, or they're not really asking the right questions that they used to ask. Or is there a lack of accountability, right? They're letting them off the hook or not getting creative and getting their commitment, right? Things like that. That can be a sign that that a person is in a rut, right? Now, let's say they are in a rut, which can happen. That's okay. But if we are not able to prevent it, now we need to fix it. So if they are in a rut, what you want to do is assess first, right? Their energy, again, water, sleep, diet, exercise, their clarity, right? Their necessity, and their inspiration, right? How's their spirit, their energy, all of these things, and also their personal life, which is basically these concepts here. They're mental and physical, right? How are they doing in terms of that? And basically, you want to assess them on that. Now, based on that, after the assessment, you're going to have an idea of what are the things that might be off compared to what they used to do. So you want to help them reset back to baseline behaviors, right? You want them to reread old journals on how they used to do things, look at your numbers then versus now, right? Old wins versus calls now. You also want to look at the aspects in the assessment that are not very good and help them fix that, right? Help them set new goals and help them become excited. Like, ask them, why are you not excited? What is missing? Like, how can I help you with this, right? Once you help them reset back to baseline numbers, that should make a huge difference already. But you also want to, in that call, right? You should have a call and do all this in one call, usually, in an hour call. You want to help them to shift focus from themselves to helping others, because sometimes things happen in life, right, that are outside of your control. So you feel like you want to go back to yourself and feel sorry for yourself, or just naturally be grieving, for example, if somebody dies. But if you do that, then it's about you, right? It's no longer, you're not doing your duty on the calls for the other person. So you want to go back and shift the focus to helping others, to go away from your current problems. And that will kind of really help with your mindset. And then fourth is to identify and reframe beliefs, right? Sometimes people get into this flow and they're like, oh no, none of these people have calls, right? I'm just not connecting with these people. I don't know why, what's happening. Or people that just don't want to buy this stuff, right? So these are bad beliefs that are not true, right? Because you probably closed. And so if they're not closing, it's just, again, in the beginning, you want to make sure you check if it's the reason it's because of the leads, right? But if it's not, and you review the calls and you clearly see that they're closable, or you take a few and you show them that they're closable, you need to reframe their beliefs so they kind of come out of that with a different energy, right? And obviously, fifth, you want to review the convo calls to help to spot anything else. Now, if they're still in the rut after doing this for like 2 weeks, right, or a week actually, a call usually, if they're still in the rut, if it's a new hire and they haven't closed within a full sales cycle, which is 2 to 4 weeks, with proper coaching, right, you've done everything that I told you here in the daily tasks, then just fire them. It's not worth it. They just haven't made it, and you have to go through the hiring process, and probably we have to review the interviews to make sure to spot anything that maybe you missed, right? Second thing is, if they have previously performed, right, before, then put them on a 2 to 4 week performance improvement plan, right, to give them a chance to recover, right? So first, have a meeting with them and talk with them about what's happening. Say you're on their team and want to help them improve and succeed. Agree on expected improvement in 30 days and a plan of action, right? Have a clear plan of action of what to do, and then let go of them if they don't make it. And that's it, right? So basically, like, you just want to give them an opportunity, because obviously they give you a lot and you know that they can perform. And one of the bigger costs in your business is having to rehire again. But at the same time, you don't want to hold them on for too long, and then, your business doesn't continue growing. So that's pretty much it. That's how you hire people and then manage them once you hire them to make your team successful and get to 100K per month. If you have any questions, let me know. But yeah, this should be pretty much it. If you implement all of this stuff, you should be very successful with your team.